Roll call, please.
Councilmember Armstrong,
Here.
Councilmember Perkins,
Here.
Councilmember Zafar,
Here.
Vice Mayor Veros,
Here.
and Mayor Hudson.
Here. Please join the San Ramon Police Department Honor Guard. They will be doing the Pledge of Allegiance for us tonight. Please stand. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Right. Forward. March. Left. Right.
Okay. Please be seated. Thank you, Honor Guard. Okay, and number 3 on the agenda is changes and additions to the agenda. Are there any for this evening?
There are none this evening.
Seeing none, thank you. Item 3.2, if you wish to speak under public comment or regarding an item, agenda item, please fill out a speaker card located in the back of the room and submit it to the city clerk over there. If you are participating remotely, click the raise your hand button on your computer or *9 on your telephone. And when it is your turn to speak under public comment, we will call on you. It is at this time, I would like to remind all speakers of the following guidelines for participation in this meeting. I may briefly interrupt your public comment in order to encourage compliance with these guidelines. So when you are speaking, it is important to keep in mind no profanity or obscenity, refrain from personal threats or attacks, refrain from hateful epithets or demeaning language based on hate of a person's race, religion, sexual orientation, ethnicity, gender, or disability. Please respect all people that are present or watching. Item 3.3 is board, committee, commission meetings. A complete list of upcoming meetings may be found on the city's website at www.sanramon.ca.gov. Subscription service is available at the link for automatic meeting notification. Contact the city clerk with questions 925-973-2539. Public comment is now open. At this time, the public is permitted to address the city council on items that are on the consent calendar, including a request to pull an item from the consent calendar and the reason why you wish to pull the item or items. Please note that the decision to remove the item from the consent calendar is strictly at the discretion of the city council. You may also ask a request for future agenda items or items that are not on the agenda and are within the city council's jurisdiction. Public comment is now open. If you wish to speak under public comment, you've filled out the card, hopefully. Do we have any cards for public comment? And let me note before she tells us the answer to that tonight is a little bit different. We usually have item 6, which is presentations to be for the public to speak under public comment. But tonight's pretty special, so we're going to let you turn you loose on item 6 when we get to it. Do we have any public comment cards?
We do have one request to speak by comment card as well as one hand raised on Zoom.
Okay, let's do the public comment here first and then the hand raised on Zoom.
Mardi Gras.
Yes. Oh, you're not on. You have it. But I can't hear you.
Because we're on Zoom, I'm afraid that Communist China can't hear us. But anyway, so I want to call out that the City Council has been repeatedly violating the Brown Act by forcing the public to pull consent agenda under public comment, which is reserved under the guidelines of Brown Act for non-agenda items. So please, in the future, stop doing so. Otherwise, you're depriving the public a chance to be able to speak on non-agenda items. And under 5, which is per your own agenda, that has consented calendar, you're not following the Brown Act by allowing the public to pull them. And I don't think you have the right to decide whether the public has the right to pull or not, because it is my right to pull. So tonight, understanding that 5.7 is already pulled and will be spoken under 7, I wish to pull 5.2 and 5.3, and that is my right to be granted to speak on those.
Is there 5.1 and 5.3?
5.2 and 5.3
Anything else?
for consent agenda. That is.
We're
it.
on public comment.
Oh, yes. Thank you for reminding me that. Yes. So please, going forward, abide by Brown Act. I also would like to ask the council that Open Space Commission must include someone from DV-GAD. I was very disappointed yesterday that you have all voted to allow incumbents who are moving away to continue to serve when the time zone is 3 hours behind. It is against transparency for government when someone is really not residing here full time, and that she is 3 hours behind. And she even told you that, a meeting at 9 a.m. is, could be a grievance to her. And therefore, she wants to minimize public comment, but it is again the public's right to speak under public comment. So if the chair of the Open Space Commission cannot work with the public comment because of her time zone, then she should not be reappointed. In addition, the NGO representative should not be automatically appointed again and again and again without interview and public vetting. Every time his term is up, he needs to be allowed to be vetted again by the public, because this particular position is not an elected position, and you guys did not offer any other options. Therefore, he's a monopoly. He can be serving for the rest of his life, and I am against that. So please, next time, any NGO representative, when the term is up, he must be open to public vetting as well. I think.
Please wrap up.
Oh, yes, one more. I noticed that tonight, your physical agenda did not include staff report. That is wrong, because a lot of public in our city may not have the money to have computer devices, which is, there is a ton of staff reports. So please include that in
Thank you very
physical
much. Who is
agenda next time. Thank you.
the hand raised?
Jim Blickenstaff.
Jim, you have the floor.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to bring something to your attention that,
Jim Blickenstaff.
can you hear me?
It was a great speech, Jim, but you're on mute.
Oh, really?
No.
We're not getting audio at the moment.
Okay, we're not getting audio right now, Jim. Do you want to try? First of all, tonight is different than normal, if you can hear me. We are not asking people to speak under public comment for presentations. So if you want to try again and come back, if why you're calling is about a presentation, you can call back again on 6, or we have a second public comment later in the day. That's good. And he's the only one, is that correct?
As of right now, yes.
That's on Zoom. Okay, do we have any written comments that were sent in?
We did not receive written on this.
Okay,
item.
we'll close the public comment. Next item is consent calendars, generally routine in nature and acted upon with a single action. We have asked to pull 5.6 already. I've put it under deferred consent calendar items. It will be taken up under 7. So 5.6 will be 7.6. The items before us are 5.1 through 5.5 and 5.7. There is a request if you want to pull 5.2 or 5.3. What is the pleasure of the council?
I'll move 5.1 through 5.5 and 5.7.
Okay,
And then 5.6 will be for later.
yeah, it's deferred consent calendar. So item 7.
I second that.
Hey, gosh, I'm actually in time to. You gonna second it? We're still waiting for a second.
So I'm probably not.
Oh, then I'll second it. Okay. Nope, Sabina beat you to it. All right. Shridar's computer doesn't work. Can you do it for him? Okay, we've got 5.0 to support the consent calendar, authorized 5.1 through 5.5, and item 5.7 have passed. And waiting to see that it's still adopted. Okay, special presentations.
Sorry. Says no order.
I'll fix it.
Okay. The first glitch of the night. All right, our first item is a proclamation. Of course, we could move 7 up ahead if you want. No, okay. Our first item is a proclamation honoring Craig Stevens upon his retirement. An introduction and presentation by City Manager Joe Gort. You want to take it from here?
Sure, be happy to, Mayor. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Chief Stevens, if you would kindly take the prominent position over there at the podium, I appreciate it. I'm going to stay here for the beginning of this so that it gets captured on the microphones. It is it's my pleasure and disappointment to honor Chief Stevens tonight. He's moving into the next chapter and to his retirement, and Amy apparently has a bunch of items for him to do. I did ask him, we went to lunch the other day, and I asked him if he was what he was going to do or anything like that. And he said, I'm not sure, but Amy said I can't just golf. And so I guess there's some things you need to get done before you elevate into a kind of a 5-day week golf scenario. It's a unique honor for me because as some of you know, I was the previous chief and the second chief in this department. And then ultimately, however, I made it here to the city manager position. It allowed me to actually select the preceding chiefs, which was Chief Pratt, who's in the audience tonight, as well as Chief Stevens, and then also our chief who's going to be sworn in tonight. So I feel especially honored to be able to do that. Craig is been carrying on a long tradition of community service. When we started this police department back in 2007, there were some very strict standards that were expected of the police officers in the police department here. Mayor Wilson, former Mayor Wilson's in the audience tonight too. They all had a very high expectations. The city council had a high expectation. Craig has carried that on for the last 4 years as police chief. He was also one of the actual original officers or sergeants, I should say, at the time that came and started the police department. So he knows everything about San Ramon Police Department, and he's been able to carry it forward. He started his career in 1992 as a deputy sheriff. He worked all the different facets in the sheriff's office, from the jail to patrol, and then ended up in the contract city of the San Ramon Police Department, which, if you remember, some of the old time residents remember that the city of San Ramon contracted policing services to the sheriff's office. Well, Craig started as a deputy sheriff working as a San Ramon Police Department police officer. So he's been here even prior to the initiation of the police department. He was one of the 9 original sergeants that was hired by San Ramon Police Department. That's particularly important and impressive because when you start a police department, there's a lot of stuff you got to do, and you don't realize just how much you have to do to start a police department. So there was a lot of heavy lifting, and one of the main tasks that Craig was assigned to was to start our professional standards unit. And that is literally probably one of the most important units in the police department, because we expect a high level of training for our officers. So he was needed to do that. And then he set the bar for ethical standards and developed that into what it is today. And so that's a real feather in his cap. Fast forward to field training. He started the field training program for the San Ramon Police Department. And for most people, they don't realize when you have a field training program for police officers, it's not like we have you watch a 2-hour video and sign a form and say, get out there, kid. It's months and months of training, and police officers ride in the cars with their training officers, and there is incredible oversight with, daily reports, weekly reports, monthly reports to ensure that we're getting the best officer on the street as possible. And Craig was the one who started that program to get us up and running. He's the fourth chief in line of succession. I am partial to the second chief. However, all in all, he's carried on that great tradition, and literally, you really tell a difference when it comes to ethics and expectations and service from when Chief Holder started this department. I followed, then Chief Pratt, and then Chief Stevens. And so it's been really an honor to carry that on, because it's very important to me, not only as a city manager, but also just having come from the San Ramon Police Department, that we do right by our citizens. And Craig's never lost a grip on that. And I hate to admit it, but his job was way tougher than mine. He got to go through a year of civil unrest as a police chief. And as we all know, there was a whole lot of dynamics going on. A couple years that even come into today, but a couple years ago, there was lots of issues, and it was Craig's leadership that gave him overwhelming community support. If that wasn't enough, we decided, why don't we do this in the middle of a pandemic, which, as we all know, I don't have to explain that, but imagine trying to run a police force in a pandemic when there were no vaccines, when there weren't anything going on, and make sure you have police officers that could respond to calls, keeping the police officers safe. And the dynamic of doing that, when almost like starting a police department, we didn't have a whole lot of ways to go about it. We didn't have any books or manuals on that. The state didn't, right? We just never got hit such hard with the pandemic. And Craig again stepped up to the plate and made it happen. We have we just launched in the last few months a police response in conjunction with our fire district partners. And thank you for being here. I appreciate everybody. I know Jay Kerr is here and will be speaking, but I also see all these other, the fire department. I really appreciate you coming. It shows that there is a partnership. We laugh, and we do make fun of the fire district a lot. And trust me, they make fun of us. So I don't feel bad about it one bit. But they started an initial partnership with the fire district, responding to mental health calls in a way that isn't, that's more responsive to those that are in need with these mental health emergencies. And the fire district amazingly stepped up and said, basically, we're all in on this. And the police said, yeah, this is the way to do it. So we have a pilot program that should be launched in the next few months, I believe, that will allow fire to initially respond to mental health emergencies if there are safety precautions in place that should hopefully minimize some of these crises that we're dealing with mental health. And then he gets to walk away knowing that when we started this department, we had our average officer had about 12 years experience when you averaged them out. And when you look at that at any other police department, that's, people just shake their heads that you would have that much experience. And so we started the department with incredible police officers. But as you can imagine, if you can do the math, if you have this cadre of high quality veteran officers, well, it's like school, right? Freshman, sophomore, junior, sooner or later, they kind of travel through this group. A cluster travels through the system, and well, they traveled through the system. And welcome to our chief recruiter as well, because we've probably had, 20 or 25 officers gone in the last year or so. we expected it. We knew it was going to happen. We worked towards professional development, and more importantly, we worked towards recruiting. And I look, some of these folks back here behind you are original officers, and then others are absolutely incredible police officers that wanted to come to San Ramon. And Craig was instrumental in making that happen. So it really can't be overstated. His tenure in this police department as the police chief was really amazing. And he gets to walk away. He's a little angry about it because apparently Denton moved into his office a little prematurely. But I saw him on last Friday. I went in and, you know, he almost was a barricaded subject. I was like, Craig, are you in there? He's like, no, go away. So he got to occupy his office for like 3 days, and now he's going to have to move on. So there may be another barricaded subject unless Denton changed the locks already. But enough about the important things about Craig. I think we all appreciate him, and I'm sure there's several folks that are going to want to say something. But for us, I have a couple awards I want to give you on behalf of the staff. Some of the things that you might not know, though, is Craig's part of the executive team and the department head team. And he came into my office the other day and he was crying. And he was crying, right? First, I thought chiefs don't cry. I think that's in the chief code of conduct, but I never cried, but whatever. He starts crying and I said, oh man, it was really hitting you, huh? It's really, that whole retirement thing's really hitting you. He's like, no, Joe. Golden Skate closed. And so just to give you a little bit of extra touch on this, and the department heads are my witnesses. I wouldn't make this up. Every week he explained just how amazing of a skater he was back in the day. Okay, so some of us didn't believe him. And so unfortunately, every week he would come in to the department head meeting and he would require us to learn and memorize a skating term, which I didn't know they had. However, they do. So I'm just gonna, there's a list because he did this for 4 straight years, but I'm gonna give you the top 5 or so that all the department heads can bark out on command because he would require it. You know, I'd be right in the middle of something very important like a multi-million-dollar budget, and he would say, Maria, what's command number 5? What's skate and move number 5? Maria would say, why, that's Rexing. And this Rexing is a type of backwards skating that utilizes a sequence of step patterns such as figure 8, duck walk, or grapevine. He would then go to Debbie. Debbie would say the scissors. Scissors is a way of moving across the rink on 2 feet by pushing the feet outward from a 90-degree angle and then pulling them together again. We'd move on to Kelly. Kelly would say dipping. Dipping is bending your knees and putting yourself in a squatting position while skating. Hey, we tested on this, so trust me. Next, we moved on to Christina.
I haven't been able to do that for a while, by the way. Yeah.
You'll have your time. You need to be quiet. Next was the spin. And Christina would say, a spin is a skating move where you bend your knees, keep your feet shoulder width apart, and rotate your arms to one side close to your body, pulling your closer skate backwards, pushing your further skate forwards. Went on to Martin, the spread eagle. Spread eagle is a move where you skate forward with your knees bent, spread your legs, and rock back into your heels, balancing on the back 2 wheels. And then my personal favorite, so I memorized this one, the Sal Chow. This is to do a Sal Chow. Start by skating backwards, complete a 1-leg twist, do a quick jump, and land on your opposite foot. And then there was the grand one that Craig Stevens, chief, knows, and I believe all the police officers know this because I think he went to lineups and made them learn it, is Craig Stevens, Craig, shoot the moon Stevens. And so I'm going to let Craig explain that, but we do have a gift for you. So now I'm going to move.
like a celebrity roast.
Okay, based on, so the boring one, I'm not gonna say boring. As a gift, we give to all of our staff who are retiring, a street sign with Craig's 2007 to 2022, Craig Stevens Way. So thank you for, and so now on behalf of the department heads and the city council, am I not on? Okay. On behalf of the department heads and the city council, we signed a little gift for you because your tears moved me. And so.
Hey, where's this gonna go?
Thank you, Hassan. I'm sure you're going to have something to say, but Hassan was generous to give us, the owner of our Golden Skate was generous enough to give us, these are an actual pair of skates. We just kind of clipped them on because I figured once you get home, you're going to probably shoot the moon. But on behalf of the staff and on behalf of the council, we have signed your skates, and anybody in the cops back there want to sign it, feel free. We want to present you with Craig, shoot the moon, Stephen. This honorary, did I do okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Gift by staff.
Wow, that's heavy. Yeah, believe it or not, I have a proclamation here, but I think you just heard it. I have a proclamation of the, Craig, especially for you, a city council of the city of San Ramon recognizing police chief Craig Stevens for his service to the city of San Ramon. Whereas Craig Stevens started his law enforcement career in 1992. It's about the time I started coming to meetings and they didn't have to throw me out. As a deputy sheriff with the Contra Costa County Sheriff's Department and worked in detention and patrol. In 1998, Craig Stevens was selected to work as a police officer in the contract city of San Ramon, where his duties included patrol and serving as a field training officer. And whereas Craig Stevens was promoted to the rank of sergeant in 2001 under a great mayor at the time and was reassigned to the Sheriff's Department County Patrol Division. Get that, Abram? In 2004, Chief Stevens returned to the contract city of San Ramon Police Department, working primarily patrol and administrative assignments. And whereas in 2007, the city of San Ramon transitioned to its own police department and hired Craig Stevens as one of the 9 original sergeants to start the police department. Chief Stevens' initial assignment was creating the Professional Standards Division. Chief Stevens played an integral role in establishing a training plan as well as the internal affairs investigation process. Chief Stevens also developed the department's original field training program. And whereas in 2011, Chief Stevens was promoted to the rank of lieutenant. During his tenure as Lieutenant Chief Stevens, why don't we have Craig Stevens there? Held the position of Professional Standards Division Commander, Patrol Division Commander, and Investigations Division Commander. In 2016, Chief Stevens was promoted to the rank of Captain. And during his tenure as Captain, he was in charge of the Operations Bureau and the Support Services Bureau. And whereas in 2019, Chief Stevens was selected to serve as the 4th police chief in the San Ramon Police Department's history. During Chief Stevens' tenure, he was responsible for navigating police response in the midst of the COVID-19 global pandemic, upstarting a cutting-edge public safety response to mental health calls, and transitioning the police department into the state-of-the-art public safety complex it is today. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of San Ramon does hereby recognize and congratulate Chief Craig Stevens for his service and commitment to the quality of life in the city of San Ramon and wishes him well in his retirement. And you are not allowed to play for the police department golf team in the city championship anymore. You're done. Thank you, Chief Stevens. I'll leave that.
I'm just waiting for Chief Stevens' rebuttal. That's the, that'll be the fun part. No, Chief, thank you so much for your service. You've brought us a long way and through some really tough times. And yeah, no, I hope nobody has to go through what you went through. in these last, well, it's been, you count them up, it's, it's 3+ years in 4 different years. And I want to thank you for what you managed to accomplish. And one thing that didn't get mentioned that I'm real pleased we've done is our camera systems and how the camera systems have helped our ability to fight crime and help our citizens. So thank you again for all the work you've done, and we really do appreciate it. You've been a great asset since, what was it, 98? You started here?
92.
Well, were you here in 92? No, you were sheriff and the jail and all that, but 98 you were here. So thank you again. It's been, you've made a definite good impression in the city. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sabina?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you as well. One, for keeping me, my family, and all the residents of San Ramon safe. And we are very fortunate that we have an amazing police department, but your leadership has been phenomenal. And I think it's been mentioned, you went through some interesting times in the last 4 years, and you've just handled it so well. If there was one word I could use to describe, you're just humble. And for an officer, for a chief to be humble like that and always available, I've always appreciated it. You've always got it on a call, residents have been concerned. You've stayed on the call till you've resolved those issues. And again, the cameras was probably the first thing when I got elected. We talked through those, and then multiple things, right? We had the pandemic, we had the BML movement. Everything you handled with such grace and community engagement that I'm truly grateful for you for making us look good in this community, for doing all of that. So thank you.
Mark?
Yeah, Craig, I don't think I'm ever going to get that picture out of my mind that was up there. So
Send you more.
yeah, thanks, Joe, for putting that up. Just thanks for all that you did, and even listening to my concerns and taking appropriate action when it was appropriate. I think we got a great police department. Our cops are well respected in the community. They're well trained, they're well resourced, they do a great job. And that's not by chance. That's because of your leadership. That's because you provided them with vision. You gave them space to operate, within your intent. And again, that's great leadership. Just thanks for all you've done in your career, from the birth of our police department up until now. You've set a superb example. And I think the true mark of your influence is the fact that you've trained up a whole new generation of cops. You've also trained up a replacement. And I think that speaks volumes to your leadership and the ability in the future for the police department to continue to seamlessly keep things on track into the future, even in your absence. So I wish you the best in your retirement. Well done, and you deserve it. So thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Burrows?
Chief Stevens, congratulations on your retirement. I have all great things and respectful things about your tenure in the city. Especially, I would like to appreciate your participation in our community events. At every time, whenever we requested you to attend and join us, you were always there and show your support to the community. That's one of the great character of any leader that you showed, and you made us feel proud about our chief. Also, I would like to thank and appreciate for your how you led during the protests in the city, and many more contributions that, for like the one which we already mentioned about the mental health crisis pilot program that we are looking forward for. That's going to be not only it's going to be a program for our city of San Ramon that is going to become a national importance, because that can provide a big direction for the nation as such, and maybe many other nations. So that kind of great leader that you are, and the community always felt very safe. Thanks for keeping our community safe. Once again, congratulations, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. And I am not going to go on forever. We have a lot of people that want to express their feelings on the job that you've done. And I would just ask that we open the public comment right now. And how many cards do we have? Get an idea how long this, we don't want you passing out there.
We have 5 comment cards.
Okay, please call the names.
Mardi Gras.
Okay, please take 3 minutes.
Chief Stevens. I want to, I want to thank you so much. If there is a word I can describe you, I would say legendary. To be able to survive what you went through truly is not only incredible, you have done it in such a way that the community almost didn't feel it. Personally, as a resident, what I have noticed about you is that you are like a family, which is extremely difficult as a police officer to present to the community members, because people usually have this fearful image of police officers, but coming from you, it was different. I remember one time I couldn't get answers regarding the alarm system policy that the city councils were implementing, and I couldn't get answers. And you came all the way out to speak with me. I was really, really touched, and I will never forget how down to earth you have been to us. And also having moved here to San Ramon in the beginning, Doherty Valley was policed by county sheriffs. And after we have come on, I just noticed that the police officers are all very, very friendly. It's like you guys are stealth. You're there, but most of the time we can't really feel you either. And I think it has to do with your leadership. And I want to thank you not only for what you have done for us, but what you will be leaving for us, especially with a new leader that I know you have trained and think of highly. And as a resident, I feel very at peace losing you in a way. But then I will really, really miss you. And I want to thank your family so much for sharing. I can only imagine. I have a child who is in ice hockey. I can only imagine as a captain when you were losing your men, what you must have gone through. And I know that kind of fearless steadfastness doesn't exist in everyone. And I really have a lot of respect for you. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Gail Israel.
Gail. Come on down. How have you been?
Oh, good evening, Mayor Hudson, distinguished council members, and Chief Stevens. I am here on behalf of the District 2 Contra Costa County Supervisor, Candace Anderson. I'm her Chief of Staff, and I just wanted to bring a resolution recognizing Chief Stevens, his distinguished service to both the county and to the community of San Ramon. And I'm not going to read it because there's lots of speakers. I'm just going to present it and thank him for his service.
Thank you, Gail. Okay. And please thank Supervisor Anderson for us. Next speaker, please.
Jay Kerr.
Jay.
Mayor Hudson, council members, chief. I'm Jay Kerr. I'm here tonight as the vice president of the Fire District Board. Also, I'll mention I'm a 42-year resident of San Ramon. Joe's already mentioned, actually it's been mentioned by a couple of folks tonight that we have several partnerships between the fire district and the city of San Ramon. These partnerships, years have certainly saved tax dollars. But they've also improved communications. They've reduced response times. They've improved services. They've even led to improved facilities. And all of that is going to ultimately lead to saving lives and property. I bring all that up because I want to say that Chief Stevens has been instrumental. And I'm going to say it again because he really has been instrumental in building those relationships and making them work. If I may, I just want to point out a few, you've alluded to the mental health program. He also was key in developing the communications, our dispatch center that we co-own jointly now. Building relationships between patrol officers and our dispatchers has just paid dividends. I mean, we are seeing just much quicker response times, which means people get there quicker when crucial minutes are crucial. All right. The other partnership that I think has been alluded to is literally under construction. We have a brand new state-of-the-art emergency operations and dispatch center that's under construction. We are completely renovating the public administration buildings, which I believe the police moved into last week. Understand Paige left you some artwork. Yes. In any case, Chief Stevens saw the early on saw the benefit in that, and he's been involved from concept to what is now almost completion. Again, several people have alluded to the mental health program. I think it's worth saying again, police and fire responders are increasingly being called on for mental health crisis calls. Fire district initiated a new program. Ideally, I mean, the ideal is that we get our citizens the best that they can get in terms of healthcare. Chief Stevens is the only police chief that agreed to move forward with unifying police and fire. I don't think that point's been mentioned tonight. He's the only one that saw the benefit, and I absolutely applaud his efforts in that regard. Thank you. So all these partnerships required a leader with vision and a leader with a willingness to not take the easy route. Would have been so much easier just to coast into retirement and not do any of these things. That's not the route he chose. He pursued what he perceived was the best course for his department and the citizens of San Ramon, and he will leave quite a legacy behind because of it. Thank you. So Chief, on behalf of the Fire District, would like to thank you for your many years of service and wish you well in retirement. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I may, just one other thing. Chief Meyer.
Oh, boy.
Regrets that he could not be here tonight. He is literally on his way back from vacation. And he asked that we spoke about this yesterday, and he asked that I invite you to a fire district board meeting so that we could give you a proper retirement roast. Okay. We'll have some tips as well, I believe. Chief Gorton can probably, former Chief Gorton could probably attest to what a pleasure that would be. Anyway, we look forward to seeing you at one of our board meetings soon. Thank you.
And is this a board meeting at Dainty Donuts or Digby's?
No. We have real board meetings.
Yeah.
Yes.
BOARD or?
Yeah, and ultimately, and not that far away, we'll have our own new administration center. So
Okay.
it's all good.
I gotta be nice, right? Okay. Yeah, they sprinkles. Okay, next speaker, please.
Abram Wilson.
We're saving the best for last, Hassan. Hang in there.
We take this for granted, but we shouldn't. But first, Mr. Perkins and Mr. Hudson
Uh-oh.
would like to thank you for supporting when we said we needed our own police force. And we couldn't have done it without your help. And when we decided to have our own police force, we're very fortunate because we chose the best of the best. People who understood family, who understood service and commitment. And I look back and we talk about what happened in the last 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. I never, ever questioned our police force, fire in San Ramon. We were a family when everyone else around this entire country were talking about chaos, and we had the 1 or 2 residents that said, the police force. I said, hey, we are the example. You can't imagine going back to when I was mayor, going back to DC and stating, we have the best police force in the United States because we are family, we care, we challenge, we agree to disagree, but we come across with the fact that we do what's best for our residents. And our chiefs have done that, and our patrol officers have done that because we have their back, they have our back. And that's so unique in this country. We're not separate. We're family. And I could always count on Craig that he would do what's best for our city, for all of our chiefs, because we're family and we understand that. I thank you for keeping the tradition alive. Whether it's the patrol officer or the chief, we have the best because we cared, that they care. Accountability's always stopped here because we had that foundation. And anyone who questions who we are as a city working together, well, you just can't explain stupid. We are, because of men like you and everyone here, a city above all the rest, because we are family. And thank you for keeping that tradition alive. As a resident and someone who went through a hell to form this police force, thank you for, it was worth it. Thank you.
And a last speaker card.
Hassan Sharifi.
I think Mr. Sharifi has a special announcement tonight in honor of you,
Yes, yes.
Craig.
By the way, how many of you were around here in 1987? Good. That's when I started working with the city. And they thought I was working for the city, but I was working with the city. Those things. Anyhow, I am the owner of the Golden Skate, and we are not going to close the ring this week so that you can come and skate. Open for the ball, and that's, you know, I'm kind of not very strong. I give in to love and affection. And that's what all the newspapers, that a couple of newspapers and the TV and all that stuff, all the people from this community that have expressed their sorrow for us leaving, I listen to them. And so please, and if I knew, this is size 12, is that you? That's right. Okay. And I have with me, you know, I have been the chief sitting over there before. I have something in my hand. If you came to my office, this poster has always been hanging from my wall. And this poster represents the police at the time of 2001. And if you look very carefully, on the right-hand side, on this side of it, is the picture of this man. Good looking he was. And on the bottom of it is Scott hold it. And under here is, of course, Brian Lindblom. And this is always, and when the new policemen come to my office, there is a problem. They come and see this and they start looking who they're trying to find. I thought the oldest guy was this guy, Mahoney.
Jim Mahoney, he's still
He-
working.
He retired
He's still
and he
working.
didn't come to say hello, goodbye. I know that these people in here. And for me, I worked with every department in this city. Police was number one. And the fire, the ambulances were my number two. Without them, I couldn't have survived in this city. And as you probably know, I don't know how to say. I really don't. I am an ex-academician that I came here in 1986. I took 2 years of leave of absence from my job in another state. I came to America, to California, and it's the same thing. And then I stayed here since then. I resigned a couple of years later. As you probably know, I was an English professor for many, many years. And so I thought I would bring that for you to see. I'm not going to give it to you. Everything you have done is in the back. I participated in making this. And we had a lot of cards that we used to give to the DARE. That man over there was a DARE officer before I was here, correct? That's correct. And the DARE was one of my favorite things. And I also had something else for you.
When he's not looking, grab it.
Unfortunately, I did not have. Where is Mr. Splasky? Where's your assistant? He didn't tell me. And by that time, we have gotten rid of all the big sizes. So this is a medium size. I'm going to give it to you. You bring it back to me because we're making big ones for you. Okay. I roll at the golden scale. Thank you.
Thank you, Hassan.
I'd like you to come and skate next month, the month after that, and so forth. And we are going to be open. And thank you for your honor.
Thank you.
For everything. And thank you.
Thank you. We still have some more on the public comment. I'm sorry, you had more?
No, I'm
Okay.
done.
It's got the fork. We have some raised hands or star nines.
That was the last comment card, but we do have one hand raised on Zoom.
Okay.
Dinesh Govindarao.
Yes, Dinesh? Are we working?
Hey,
Can you hear me?
yeah, can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear?
Yes, go ahead.
Hey, thank you, Mayor and council members and Chief Stevens. I want to thank you, Chief Stevens, for all your hard work and dedication to our great city, especially as a person who's called home for the last 43 years. I mean, I really appreciate your willingness, like a lot of other folks have said, being so receptive to the needs of our community. That was so much needed, especially during the last few years and the challenging times we have faced, and helping our city be one of the safest cities in California. So wanted to just thank you for all your hard work and efforts on that. I've always appreciated our conversations we've had over the last few years. It's very down to earth, easy to converse with, and so I just wanted to wish you all the best in retirement. I'm sure you're going to have a lot of fun projects to do, and but wish you all the best in retirement. Also want to congratulate our new chief, Denton Carlson, as well. I'm confident he will be a great successor to you. But thanks again for all your hard work and your service, Chief Stevens. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Do we have any written comments either that were sent in?
We do not have any written for this.
And no more star nines and no more raised hands. We will close the public comment. There's no council action taken on this. I just want to add one thing, Chief. It's not something that just happens. I mean, it takes a lot of people. The former mayor Wilson, I thought, put it succinctly, and I don't need to repeat it. But what he didn't tell you is not everybody wanted this separate police department. And Scott and I were pure geniuses. If Warren Roof ever called, we knew who to point to. And Warren reminded him one day that he didn't want this police department. But in the end, I think that every mayor that goes back to Washington, D.C. can make the same claim. Our goal from day one, and we've achieved it, is to be the best police department, bar none. And it comes from the 4 chiefs we've had on down, and we've been blessed with some others. And as a last note, I will say that you did not have it tougher than the second. What do they say about the NFL? You're the second quarterback draft? No, that's something different. But unfortunately for Joe, when we were at Camino Ramon, I would walk by his office when he was captain just about every day. And trust me, it wasn't that easy. Anyway, we thank you for your service. We do have a new police chief. We'll hope everybody kind of hangs in there for a minute. And would you like to say something before your new police chief? And I was going to, anyway, go ahead. No.
Thank you.
Don't worry, Joe. I'll try to make this brief.
I was trying to save you, but you earned it.
I would like to make this brief because I know that tonight really should be about swearing in our new police chief. But I do just want to say thank you to a few people. I'm going to start with the council, the current council, previous council members, Mayor Clarkson, Councilmember Alone, Councilmember Sachs that I had the privilege of working with as a chief. Of course, Mayor Wilson, who, if it wasn't for him, I don't know if we would have created our own police department, as well as some of the current council members. So it's not been the easiest tenure. However, the council has always supported our police department, and know that our team notices that. Our officers notice your support and appreciate it. I want to say thank you to Joe, who has been a tremendous mentor, city manager. I have valued our relationship. I know I talk too much, but I've always appreciated the fact that I could call you and talk to you either as a city manager or as a former police chief, and your guidance has been phenomenal. To my amazing San Ramon team, our sworn officers, our professional staff, both our current members, past members, it's been said, and I say this all the time, we may not be the biggest police department around, but we're the best, and that's because of the people that we have. The fire district, we have forged some fantastic partnerships. Many projects have been done, many are in the works, and we will continue to strengthen that partnership moving forward, all things that will benefit our community. Speaking of our community, we serve the best community around, and I think that's why our folks work as hard as they do, because they know how special this place is, and we always want to meet the expectations of our community. We know how privileged we are to work in the city of San Ramon. To the department head team, I will miss our department head meetings on Thursday morning. What an impressive group of individuals that is. I know you know this already, but the leaders that are leading every department in this city are second to none. This city can't, the reason it's so, it operates the way it does is because the leadership we have at every level of the department. My family, many are here this evening. I appreciate your love and support. I wouldn't be here without you guys. That's what this is all about is the love and support that your family give you. My wife, Amy, my kids, Delaney and Cash in particular. It's not always easy being the spouse of a police officer, let alone a police chief, or a child of a police officer or a police chief. And I know that they've all made sacrifices, but I love you guys with all my heart. And whether you like it or not, I'm going to be around a little bit more. And then lastly, I do want to congratulate Denton Carlson, Chief Carlson. I am so excited that he is my successor. I know that he is ready for this position. I know how much he cares for this community. And I look forward to watching our department continue to develop and grow under his leadership. So again, thank you to everybody.
And thank you, Chief. And I would ask that you please stick around so that we can get a picture of 4 police chiefs if we can afterwards, because I know our next introduction will move on to 6.2. There's no action taken. Make sure you guys get that sign. No. And this is the administration of the oath of office to Police Chief Denton Carlson, by City Clerk Christina Franco. And she'll stay over there and you have to repeat it from memory. Come on down. You have some introduction for our new
I do.
chief?
I do.
Please.
So thank you, Mayor. So as Chief-elect Carlson comes down, we don't drop the elect till he actually gets his badge. It's my great pleasure to introduce Chief Carlson to the community and to the council, though they all know him well and have great support for him. We conducted a national search to allow any interested applicant to compete for the position. And I updated the council from time to time over the last few months. We did have applicants from actually all over the United States, Texas and East Coast and different things. And we held an assessment center in which Denton and the other applicants had oral interviews, both with community members. There was a panel as well as an internal staff panel, because my department heads would never let me get away with that if I picked a loser chief and they didn't get a say in it. And at least I can say if he screws up, I can be like, well, you guys sat on the panel. No. And then we had a subject matter expert panel that had a city manager and a couple police chiefs, so that we would get a perspective from all three. Denton came out number one in every panel. Actually, not a real surprise to me. He's a member of this community, and he's also, as we talk about those gold stars, well, he's one of those gold stars. And so this is kind of a historic moment, actually, because this will be for sure the last gold star police chief. So the next one after Denton will be someone else or a member that's come a little bit later. So that's kind of historic. He'll be our 5th police chief in San Ramon, and we're looking forward to it. A little information about Denton. He started his career as a police officer in 1998, also as a deputy sheriff. In 2002, he began serving this community through the Contra Costa County Office of the Sheriff, through the contract city for the city of San Ramon. In 2007, Denton joined the newly formed San Ramon Police Department. During his time as an officer, corporal, and sergeant, he held positions as patrol officer. Some of you, even I think maybe on this council, a Citizen Academy instructor. Yeah, Councilmember Perkins went through Denton's Citizens Academy.
They threw me out. Well, yeah, I shot the guy.
He was a detective, tactical team member, tactical team leader, law enforcement academy recruit training officer. So when we send our folks to the academy, the brand new kids, we call them, right? We actually assign them a training officer. This position actually, the academy asks for members of the different departments in the county to come and actually be kind of the field training officer for the academy recruits. So he spent, what was 6 months at the police academy training up recruits, which is really good because you get an eye, gets us in the door a little sooner, because he would call him, hey, this guy here or this gal here is really good. We should offer him a job. So we had the inside scoop for like 6 months, and then we lost it. Patrol supervisor, professional standards and training supervisor. In 2014, Denton was promoted to lieutenant and assigned as a manager to the patrol division. In 2015, he was given the opportunity to develop the San Ramon Police Department newly created Community Resource and Crime Prevention Division. This included implementing the San Ramon Police Department social media outreach and public safety emergency communication platforms. So as I explained with Craig, hey, you gotta build this, and you gotta build this field training officer program. Basically, that's what I did with Denton. I called him into my office and said, we got to get out here on social media. We got to get out here on this. This is what's happening in the world, and we need to do it. And I don't know how, and I don't care if you don't know how, you're going to know how, and you're going to make it happen. And he said, no problem. And so, as everybody knows Denton from usually his social media posts and interaction there, but he built it. He built it from all the different social media next door. I don't know if we still are, but under Denton's leadership, we are the highest engaged community, or we were anyway, the highest engaged community on Nextdoor anywhere. And that was all due to Denton building this very important communication platform. In addition, Denton was the public safety, public information officer, commander of the multi-agency SWAT team, direct liaison with the San Ramon Valley School District. And as a result his efforts related to community engagement, social media, and public safety communication platforms, he was chosen as the 2016 Employee of the Year by the San Ramon Chamber of Commerce. In 2017, Denton was promoted to captain and assigned to as the Operations Bureau Commander, where he oversaw the San Ramon Police Department's Uniform Patrol, Traffic, and Youth Services Division. From 2019 until now, Denton's been the Support Services Bureau Commander and is responsible for investigations, community resource and crime prevention, professional standards and training, finance, records, and property and evidence divisions. In addition to his responsibilities with the police department for the past 7 years, Denton has been the director of the city's of San Ramon's Office of Emergency Management. I also would like to add that there's also a mental health program going on in the county, which is called A3, and that is a county-wide response to mental health calls to also minimize conflict with these calls. Craig was managing our local response in the county, and all the cities in the county wanted a regional response as well. So I shoulder tapped Denton to take that on, which is a very heavy lift, and he's been heavily involved in that program. That program, thank you to the county and to county medical services. They're amazing, but that program was funded by the Board of Supervisors to the tune of, through Measure X, to what was it, Gail, $20 million or something like that? Something like that. A lot of money. So it's really exciting. I think we're forging a way with the mental health response, which has been, as you all know, probably through reading some of the stuff that's been going on, to have a local response that's been designed, which will integrate to this county regional response. I think we've really taken a lot of the heavy lifting to forge forward in that. And Denton was part of the architect of that, which has been really amazing. Denton holds a master's degree in emergencies services administration from California State University, Long Beach. He's a graduate of the California Peace Officers Standards and Training Command College, where he received the Dorothy Harris Award for Outstanding Academic Excellence. He is also a graduate of the California Police Chiefs Association Executive Development Certificate Program and the Executive Certificate Program in Transformative Leadership from Cal State University, East Bay. In addition, he's a member of the faculty at the University of San Diego, where he teaches within their master's program in law enforcement and public safety leadership. So I think his resume speaks for himself. He's a total brainiac, but he actually can communicate with just us, bachelor degree holders or whatever. So that's you got to be able to communicate across all lines. So with that said, it's my pleasure to again, I feel lucky to have now hired my last police chief. I can promise you that, but the third, I got the ability to hire 3 police chiefs, and I consider that an honor. And I know what makes me excited is what these panels recognize, and kind of what Mayor Wilson stated earlier, is that Denton's a community member. He knows what's expected in this community. He knows the service levels that are expected in this community. He's committed to that, and he's committed to our cops. And so I don't see how you get any better than that. So I'm very excited to introduce Denton as our next chief of police. And we have Chaplain Nick Velestides. I always mess it up, too. I hope I got it. For the invocation, and then Christina can administer the oath of office.
And after the oath of office, when you do the pinning of the badge, I'd like to get a picture of all the police chiefs while we have you here in the room.
Yes,
Like
as soon as
that
the oath,
opportunity.
after the pinning, we'll get a.
Then we'll open public comment.
Okay.
Go ahead, Chaplain.
Good evening. It's an honor to pray this prayer of invocation. Join me. God, we come together tonight to honor two great servants of our community. And we ask your blessing upon this ceremony. And we want to thank you for Chief Stevens and the leadership the past 4 years as chief and the many years of service before that, and guide him in this new season of life as he retires. May his golf game improve, and may he find that which further gives him meaning and purpose. And we thank you for our soon-to-be chief, Captain Carlson, and the leadership he will bring to San Ramon Police Department. Give him that extra measure of wisdom and discernment, patience, and fortitude, that which he'll need to become a leader who will surely face some challenges in the future. Guard his heart and guard the hearts of his family. Bless the families of both these men, and we thank you for them. Bless our police department and our community and all those gathered here tonight. And in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay, Christina. You want to hold the mic? You can hold it for him.
We want what he says, not what I say.
I, Denton Carlson,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear truth, faith, and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
or
purpose of evasion,
that
that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
Thank you.
Want me to hold it for you?
Once a chief, always a chief.
Okay, so this is the pinning of the badge ceremony. And actually, for those in law enforcement, I don't need to actually tell you how important and meaningful this is. Those that aren't, I'm going to give you a little history behind it. This badge, first of all, pinning the badge on Chief Carlson tonight is his daughter, Julia, which is somewhere around here. There she is. Come on up. You want both the kids? And who? Oh, and Nick's coming too? Yeah, I didn't know. Nick looked like he was a little nervous, but you're coming up. Good. So we have Julia and Nick. Unfortunately, Den's wife broke down on the freeway or got caught on the freeway. So I think she's watching this live via Zoom on the side, on an on-ramp to or an off-ramp to a freeway somewhere. So, you know, hey, Emily. So this is the Chief's legacy badge that we started. It will be passed down from chief to chief. And you'll notice that the gold star at the bottom of this badge indicates that the officer was one of the initial 56 sworn officers who helped to start the police department in July of 2007. After this month, there will be only a handful of gold stars remaining among the sworn staff of 70 now. The chief will be authorized to wear this badge in perpetuity as a means of honoring those who have come before to shape the San Ramon PD. We are proud of what has been created. At some point there will be, and it'll be actually after you, no remaining Gold Star employees left in our ranks. This badge will continue to be a symbol and reminder of those who came before, that took the risk and put their faith and trust in their own abilities and to embark on a new adventure into uncharted territory with the dream of creating a unique culture that was different and was better. All right, my name is on there, so I just need to check that really quick. So pinning on the badge is Nick and Julia, or both. It's okay. I told Julia it's okay, you know, if you miss, it's part of the deal. So just jam it in there. It'll stick if you push it hard enough.
We probably have an EMT in the audience, so you're okay.
Yeah. Fire, I'll be needing you in a minute. Wait, get one here. Grab them. Julia, get one for the cameras.
No, don't go away.
All right. Dan, come on down here real quick. All right,
Never
we're gonna
gonna
need a
get this
picture, then it's
together
all
again.
yours, Mayor.
Yeah. So all these cameras come back. We're going to get our police chiefs all together. Come on, Craig. You may never see this again. I'll email Scott and let him know what he missed. We'll Photoshop him in. Yeah, he couldn't make it. Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen. All right, let's go to council for comments. Sabina, you want to lead us off? Okay, Mark, you want to lead us off?
Sure. Chief Carlson, that's got a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Hey, congratulations on your promotion and selection as new police chief. No doubt there was some tough competition. Your selection not only acknowledges your past performance, but also your potential to serve at this with excellence at this new position of responsibility. So you're inheriting a well-trained, well-resourced, well-funded department. I know that the positive relationship with our community that you help to foster through all your communication efforts, that's going to serve us well, serve not only our citizens, our cops, but also our city. So I have no doubt that you're going to provide the strong leadership that our cops deserve and expect. And as you all continue to protect and serve our community. So Denton, I'm looking forward to working with you in your new capacity. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice Mayor Burrows.
Congratulations, Chief Carlson. Last week when I called you for some community issue, I was in a doubt whether I should call you Chief Carlson or still I had to say Captain Carlson. So now it is officially Chief Carlson. So as mentioned that you topped in all the panel interviews, so I'm not really surprised because based on your work experience, your work ethic, your dedication for community, I'm not really surprised that you will be top. So we are very glad as a community that you stepped up and took this position to keep our community safe. More than anything, one of the significant character I can think about you is your accessibility to the community, your understanding of the community. And one of the important things that you brought to our community is your accessibility through the social media, where there used to be a big gap between PD and the community. But once you stepped in and then you put that, now community always feel that, oh, PD is so close to us. And thanks for our Chief Stevens, and thanks to you for making that happen. And I'm sure you'll serve great for our city. I'm looking forward to work with you. Once again, congratulations and all the best.
Councilmember Perkins.
Well, congratulations. We go back a little ways because you were the officer in charge when I took the Citizens Police Academy in 2004 and got to listen to your wisdom back then. And it's only continued to grow. And I'm just thrilled that you became our police chief. It really has been a great ride. And I'm so glad that in 2007, you were one of the ones that got hired, because not everybody that was on that 2006 staff got picked up. And it's just been a tremendous asset. And I'm really pleased with what Chief Pratt, Chief Gordon, Chief Stevens, and you have grown in terms of command staff and the leadership of our police department. It doesn't happen by accident. It happens through good recruiting and good training and good example. Leadership is largely a matter of setting a good example. And if you're not setting the example, trust me, the people below you will notice. But I have no doubt that you've already set the good example, and that's why you're standing there with 4 stars on. Isn't that kind of cool? Put 4 stars on you, kind of line them up and straight, all that. So that's terrific, and look forward to working with you. Congratulations.
Sabina.
Just adding on to what everybody said, and I was also part of the class where you and Becky led that. So maybe I was the last class before you handed it over to someone else, but I appreciated that. I have a selfie to prove it. Just want to say thank you. Already we're really fortunate and excited that you are leading the city. You're truly the face of the community. You've engaged with the community. Everybody does love you. I read all the comments on your social media posts, and I think people do feel fortunate that you are leading this city. Obviously, you have a long line of chiefs that have set the bar high, and I have no doubt that you're going to step up to it. A couple of them have been stressed, and you can see through the receding hairline, so take good care of your hair.
Yeah,
it's a
all
stressful
dark
job.
now. Now pay attention. It's all dark now in that picture, okay? We'll look at him in 3 years and see what it looks like.
Yeah. I don't know if you're on TikTok yet, but people told me. But do want to say thank you, and I'll come see you at your office at Phil's.
Phil's. I would just add to it that the one component that we've had throughout all of our police chiefs, and you definitely have it in your leadership, is good character. We've always been fortunate enough to have that. I will tell you the same thing I told the first police chief. I don't know how we're going to do it. I don't care how we're going to do it, but I want to get to 75 sworn officers sometime in my lifetime. I know it's not going to be easy. This is not, but the truth of the matter is that the standard is still supposed to be 1 per 1,000. And you guys have been doing an outstanding job well underneath that. I know there's a lot of people that would be thinking, how in the heck can we not be doing as good a job in Oakland with 3.29 or whatever they are in the defunding? That's not going to happen here. You're going to have the support of this council. I think that's what they're telling you tonight. Don't know how we're going to do it, but whatever it takes, because that is our top goal, a safe, secure environment. And we think we've got the right person to lead us into that. So I'm sure some people that want it, before you get to give a speech, we're going to ask some people from the public if they want to speak. We'll open public comment. Any speakers?
We do have 3 requests to speak. And
Line them up.
No hands raised.
Okay.
Mardi Gras.
Mardi Gras, lead us off.
Chief Carlson, because he is going to be my, chief. So I don't want to sound like I'm brown nosing, but I'm going to express my observation of you is that I noticed that if there's one word I can describe you, it would be finesse. A leader cannot be a great leader without a very, very effective and an astute right-wing men. And I believe that the greatness of our police department was not possible without you. And so I was extremely relieved to see your name as our next chief. When I heard at the last meeting they were going through national search, I was like horrified. And so I just want to thank you so much for not retiring, for not leaving, for continuing steadfastly to do what you believe is the right thing to do. And I want to offer you my respect and my support as a resident. And thank you so much again. And God bless you and your family.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Gail Israel.
Gail.
Hello, good evening again. I'm
Yes.
actually here speaking about Chief Carlson for myself as in my role as Chief of Staff to the County Supervisor. I have had the distinct pleasure of serving on several public safety committees with Chief Carlson. And I just wanted to tell the city, of which I'm also a 26-year resident, that you've done good and you picked the best candidate. He is the ultimate leader. I'm just a little sad that he might be too important now to sit on the Citizen Core Council TAC. So have to deal with his replacement. But again, I just wanted to say congratulations to Denton and tell you that you picked a winner. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Abram Wilson.
Abram. I'm going to do something I'm not doing with anybody else. Take as long as you want.
No. When I first met Denton, there was something about him that said he is going to be our chief. And we would sit in the back when I'd come and we'd kid back and forth about it. So I wasn't surprised. I was extremely pleased. And one thing I realized that when you were taking the oath, there wasn't a word in that oath that you said that I didn't believe. And in this day and age, it means so much to me and the residents when we hear someone give the oath and give their heart that we can believe in. Denton, you are a person of integrity, of honor, and you're just basically a good guy. And I am so proud that the council, city manager, chose the best person. And you and I both know, if I didn't think you were the best person, I'd say, well, they blew it, but they didn't. And anytime that we, the residents, can assist you, we're there for you because we know that you're there for us. Congratulations.
Thank you. We have any other speakers?
That was the last request. to
Okay,
speak.
no Zoom, no any written comments. We'll close the public comment. Can we have a few words from our newest police chief? And then I'd like to add one last thing.
Will just be a few words. I don't like to talk a lot. Apparently I have some really
Apparently that is not something that goes along
Size
with former
12.
police chiefs.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to fill some size 12 roller skates. But there are so many people in this room that I want to thank. And it starts with the 4 chiefs that came before me. I got some incredible messages from Chief Holder when the announcement went out, and that meant a lot to me. And then seeing Dan and Scott and Joe here, there's some big shoes to fill. But I also owe a debt of gratitude because I've learned so much from all of them. We were talking on Monday of last week, and I mentioned it to you then, and I mentioned it to you, Chief Stevens, this afternoon. And Dan, I haven't had the chance to mention it yet, but the conversations that we've had in your offices over the years have meant so much to me because the knowledge that you passed on to me is invaluable. and knowing the success that you've had along the way, there's a lot of expectations there, and there's a little bit of nervousness. I had some big shoes to fill, but I'm excited. And there's a huge debt of gratitude to all of you for the foundation that you built. This is the best job in the state, in the nation. There's no question about it. And because I look around the room and see the members in uniform that are here tonight, and I see our admin services staff that are here, our volunteers, and this agency is so just chock full of amazing people. And the chance that I get to stand here in front of you as a chief is an unbelievable honor. And I'm so excited for what we have ahead because of what has been built before I get to stand here. And that foundation is so strong because of the strength of the people in this organization. It's just greatness everywhere you turn around. You know, I walk around the PD all the time with a huge smile on my face. People are like, how's it going? I'm like, it's fantastic. It's great. I got the best job in the world. Now I've got an even better job. And so I'm so excited about this opportunity just because of your support here, the people that have held this position before me and the wisdom that they passed on, and the San Ramon community. This is, I say it all the time on social media, and I've said it for years, and it's the absolute truth. There is no community and no situation that's better for law enforcement than what we have right here in San Ramon. And it's the reason that we have become truly a destination agency for people to work for. And that means a lot because it means we're doing it the right way. And I'm looking forward to just keeping that and building on it and seeing what we can do to make it even better. But before I finish up here, I do have to say, one thing I'm so excited about is being part of this leadership team in San Ramon. I've had the opportunity sometimes when Craig hasn't been around to go to the department head meetings. Luckily, they let me join last Thursday before this became official. They let me jump in and sit in the back and watch. But there's so much leadership, intelligence, and commitment to the public in this group. And with everybody that serves on that leadership team, I can't wait to learn and to be a part of it because it is such an unbelievable group. And then Emily, I know you're watching. Thank you. You know, we had a talk when this opportunity was going to come around, and Emily and I sat down and we talked about it. And I said, it's going to take a lot. It's going to be a little bit different. And I talked with Nick and Julia too. And we talked about it and said, hey, this is what we're thinking about. What do you guys think? And they said, absolutely, let's do it. And doing it as a family. And that's what it takes. And, you know, Amy, this afternoon when we were at the PD, what you said meant so much because, you know, knowing that you sat there with Craig over the last 4 years, knowing what it takes, and your kind words this afternoon meant a lot. So thank you very much for that. But just thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it. Can't wait to get started, and I can't wait to see what we can all accomplish. So thank you again. Appreciate it.
And if you would, please stand there. I would just ask if you could all join me and the council for one last round of applause for our former police chiefs, our past police chiefs, and our current police chiefs. Denton, congratulations. Now tomorrow? No. Congratulations, and thank everyone for coming. This is a special night. Okay, we're going to move on to, we have one deferred consent item. Yeah. You want to take a break for 5? Everybody clear out, and then we'll give you Tim a chance to get up after we do 7. Go ahead. Everybody's cleared out. Gosh, nobody's around to hear you anymore, Tim. We have one item from the deferred consent calendar items. That's item 5.6. And Megan O'Donoghue, you're going to be doing the staff report on that?
Yes, that's correct.
You're up.
All right. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Thank you for the opportunity to present on this item. I do want to apologize for any inconvenience this update has caused. Essentially, what you have in front of you are some updated documents to correct an error that was on the first set of documents that you received related to this item, specifically regarding the salary range for police lieutenant. Per the unrepresented miscellaneous employees salary and benefits resolution and an agreement with the POA, we are to maintain a 20% salary differential between the salary range for police sergeant and police lieutenant. When we updated the salary range for police sergeant in accordance with the MOU with POA, we did not adjust the police lieutenant salary for that differential. That has been corrected. So the documents in front of you reflect a new salary range for police lieutenant that has that differential built in.
Okay, any questions to staff? Okay, and I believe the recommendation was to approve item 5.6. Do you need a public comment? Any cards?
I don't have any public comment cards for this item.
Okay, no one on star 9 or computer?
No
Okay.
requests on
And
Zoom.
we'll close the public comment on. What is the, you're just waiting to do the, look at them all lined up to do their fingers. All right, mover. Scott moved. Who's second? Okay, Sabina gets in there. Sabina must have a fast computer. I think she souped it up. Or Sridhar, we're still waiting. Are you going to do yours verbal? Oh, we got it. It's working. Okay, 5 of 5 is cast, and item 5.6 is clear. So next item is, thank you very much. City council appointments. That doesn't show any on there, but last night we did appoint 2 people to the Open Space Advisory Committee. That's Sally Scholl and Lorraine Kalich, and the NGO was Seth Adams. We also set up a wait list for Jaideep Vijayakar. Did I get that right? And yeah, well, and what that means is if for some reason one of our appointees does leave, that the alternate who is Diane Corpy, is that right? She will be offered the position and Jaideep will be offered the alternate position. And I would just say, and I looked down to make sure there's concurrence, that we were all very satisfied with the applicants and happy for them showing up. We even interviewed one applicant that removed her name and did very well. So those are our applicants or our appointees. Let's move on to unfinished business. There is none. 10.1. Very happy to introduce Tim Hale. He's the Executive Director of Contra Costa Transportation Authority. These are programs and projects, and he's going to tell you a little bit about the vision for the future. Just a little heads up before he starts. I sit on Contra Costa Transportation Authority. Scott Perkins also sits on the Innovate 680, which is, I think, a very exciting project. Tim, take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Hudson and council members. Really appreciate the opportunity for allowing me to speak and present to you this evening. Again, my name's Tim Hale, the new executive director for CCTA. I was appointed to the board in December of 2020, and so I've been making the rounds and introducing myself as the new executive director and really talking about some of the things that we're working on and also the vision for the future, which is really about really connecting communities. That's really what we're trying to work towards at CCTA. Under my new leadership in terms of how we can better provide a better integrated mobility and transportation system for Contra Costa County. These are some of the things that we do. We manage about a $2.7 billion program under the Measure J, and that expires in 2034, but we're only about 20 people at CCTA, and so we're a very lean, mean machine in terms of really delivering transportation programs and projects to Contra Costa County. And some of the programs that we do is for ferry service, for transit, for safe route to schools. Like, for example, your traffic school bus program is funded by Measure J, but also we provide services for people with disabilities, seniors, veterans through accessible transportation. These are also some of the big capital projects that have been delivered as under Measure J and also the previous measure, Measure C. And through these projects, you might recognize some of them is the fourth bore of the Caldecott Tunnel, as well as all the improvements that you've seen along the 680 corridor over the last decade, as well as improvements to Highway 4 and 680, and also all the improvements to Highway 4 out to East Contra Costa County, including the extension of BART out to Antioch, all delivered as part of Measure J. As part of the program that we have, we've been really fortunate to be able to really leverage and attract state and federal and regional dollars into Contra Costa County. Without a local sales tax revenue source, we would not be able to attract these dollars to Contra Costa County. This local source is extremely important, especially with all the new federal funding that's going to be coming in the door through the IIJA, or the Infrastructure Investment Jobs Act, that was signed by under the Biden administration last year. And so through that $1.4 billion, we've been able to have a total investment of about $5.6 billion of total infrastructure investment in Contra Costa County over the last decade. So what I'm here to talk about is really, we're at the really changing point in transportation. I think we've really seen that through the pandemic. With our transportation system is not as resilient as we think it is. And so we are dealing with a lot of the ramifications in terms of climate change, people working from home, transit is still recovering, people are walking, biking more. And so through this, we've been really trying to figure out what is the future of transportation going to look like in Contra Costa County. And so through that work during the pandemic, we undergo a travel behavior study. And through that travel behavior study, we studied specifically along each corridor, 680, Highway 4 and 80. And we started asking people a lot of questions about, what will you take in the future in terms of transportation? What were you doing before the pandemic? What were you doing during the pandemic? And what are your likeliness to move into other modes of transportation? And so what was really interesting about this survey was that people are really interested in getting out of their car. About 92% of the people in Contra Costa County drive today. And so people are really interested in getting into transit, getting into private buses or shuttles, rail, carpooling with other people, walking, biking. And so this is something that we're trying to aspire to provide at CCTA, is in terms of really providing personalized mobility options to give them the option outside of their car. And so by doing that, as we look to the future and people are walking and biking more, CCTA adopted a Vision Zero strategic plan last year. And this is really our goal and our guide to local jurisdictions to really start adopting Vision Zero policies and really start using a safe systems approach in your local roads and local streets to really provide better walking and safer walking and biking in your communities. On your left is what we kind of realize today is, a lot of confusion and a lot of potential conflict points. And so by really looking at how you can design better for walking and biking, you can make your road safer and remove a lot of those conflict points to be able to provide a better quality life and safer mobility options. The other thing that we're really focused on is, because people are looking to get into transit, we understand that transit sometimes, can be unreliable, right? And so we want to basically provide more reliable transit systems, more integrated transit systems across the entire county and region. And we're doing that through what we call Transit First. And this is really looking at how we can potentially reprioritize our space in some of the roads to be able to make transit and walking and biking, prioritizing that over the car, to really give that reliability to transit. So that way people will move into transit and have that mode shift that we're looking for based on what we've seen in these travel behavior surveys. If we can get people to shift into transit or other modes by about 10%, we can reduce congestion significantly rather than spend billions of dollars widening freeways and roadways, which in this case, in today's world, is really cost prohibitive. So we're doing this through the development of integrated transit plan, working with all our transit operators, working with our local jurisdictions to really develop that system, but also have a roadmap to adopting zero emissions. And I know Mayor Hudson's really on the Air District Board and really into hydrogen buses. And so that's something that we're working on with our transit operators, is how do we move into hydrogen? How do we move into clean air vehicles? And also, how do we address, a lot of the institutional, but also the equitable barriers that exist with transit as we're developing this integrated transit plan. The other thing is, typically CCTA has been really focused on the highway system. And so now we're turning to helping and supporting our local roadway system. And this is one of our first projects that we're undertaking is a countywide connected signal system. So I know everyone here hates it when you're stopped at a red light and there's no vehicles anywhere and you're going, why am I stopped here? Right. And so being able to leverage technology to help make our signal system, optimize it, but also be able to prioritize it for emergency vehicles, also for transit, but also have better detection for bicycles and pedestrians. I actually ride my bike to work every day. And so when I stop at an intersection, the signal does not see me. They only see cars. And so I have to wait for a car. I got to push a ped button in order to activate the green light so I can go through the intersection. And so by having better bicycle and pedestrian detection will allow it to better meet our Vision Zero goals, but also recognize all the mobility options in the roadway. The other thing that's also important is preparing our roadways for connected and autonomous vehicles. So that's going to be really important as we look to the future. The other thing that we're looking at is electrification. So this is our initiative called Charge Up Contra Costa. And this is really looking at how to install electric vehicle charging stations across the entire county, but also prepare for heavy vehicles and the infrastructure needed to, in an equitable way, for e-bike rebates, as well as rebates for electric vehicles for all people in Contra Costa County. One of the other priorities is accessible transportation. So as we look to accessible transportation and making sure people have access to mobility for everyone, these are people getting to medical appointments, also getting to service coordination across the entire county, and also making sure people have access to a one-seat ride across the entire county, rather than having to shift across different services that are crossing across the county. So this is all being documented in the countywide transportation plan. And through this, we're developing a vision for the future over the next 30 years to really understand how we can incorporate all these different things together into one seamless integrated plan. And one thing you'll recognize about CCTA is our innovation. We are really known for our innovation in Contra Costa County. We actually operate and manage a secured autonomous vehicle test bed at Concord Weapons Station. And through this, we've been able to test autonomous vehicles at Bishop Ranch to help with first and last mile. But we're also testing new mobility options like the one on the left called Glideways, which is truly a personalized mobility options where you can opt in to share or not share and to be in a closed network. It's about the same width as about a bike lane. And we're looking to develop an entire network for the entire system. So this is probably my favorite project, and really appreciate Councilmember Perkins for participating in the Policy Advisory Committee as part of Innovate 680. This is really taking all the things I just said and really incorporating into a fully connected corridor as we look to developing a completely integrated transportation system by really developing 6 projects. Those projects are complete the express lanes, also looking at how we can prioritize transit on our freeways using bus on shoulder and part-time transit lane, looking at a network of shared mobility hubs, as well as prepare the corridor for the future with vehicle to everything connectivity. And then also looking at how we can pull all this together through a mobility as a service platform. So if you can imagine a system where you'll be able to have a mobile application and you'll be able to put in your origin and destination and plan across a completely multimodal platform, have access to personalized mobility options that are completely integrated through a network of shared mobility hubs. And then you would have the shared mobility hubs would be able to provide gateway access to all these mobility options. And that way providing seamless travel for all through an integrated transportation system. This is really a proof of concept that we're working on. And just what does a fully connected corridor look like? It looks something like this, where you have prioritized lanes for certain vehicles. You can see the bus on shoulder on the right-hand side that's be able to communicate with ramp meters and connected and autonomous vehicles, as well as smart trucks, as well as using connected vehicle technology to help synchronize and smooth traffic flow through the entire corridor. And so this is really our vision for the future to really help and optimize and improve traffic flow without actually having to widen the roadway and add capacity to the roadway. So how does this actually work? You would open up your mobile application. You would then either walk or bike about a half mile to the nearest share mobility hub, where you would be connected for a bus that's waiting for you based on hailing it through the Mobility as a Service app. And then you would be prioritized through these local streets, through this optimized signal system, but also on the freeway system as you're going through part-time transit lane. And then you would basically arrive at your destination, say at BART or a transit center or downtown or wherever you're going. And then you would basically close out your trip on your app and receive rewards and incentives for taking public transportation. So this is, I'm getting in little details in terms of Innovate 680 because San Ramon is on the 680 corridor. But in order to make this work, the point of this is that there's a lot of data and a lot of systems that have to talk to each other. And this is some of the institutional barriers and the policies that Councilmember Perkins has been participating on and discussing as part of Innovate 680 program to really provide a countywide connected data center, as well as an automated decision support system to really make all this work and connect together. So we've been really talking about very specific policies as part of that work. And I've already talked about the decision support system and the countywide connected data center, but it's going to take some delegated and automated control. So if you can imagine a system that's actually monitoring the overall transportation system, and then it's actually taking over control of certain elements of the system based on that diagram to help prioritize and optimize the signal system during certain times of the day. And then that's going to require some sort of operation center that will be in Contra Costa County. And that's something that potentially CCTA would be operating in the future to help kind of coordinate all of these different systems today that are being operated in different silos to be able to provide that seamless experience that we have envisioned on the 680 corridor. And then these are all the other policies that we've been talking about. Connection protection, really securing your place in that seat in transit, data sharing, basically first and last mile, TDM programs, but also automated electric vehicles, incident management, equity considerations. All of this work and policies are being discussed as part of Innovate 680. So lastly, I want to leave is on a really high note is we're really proud of the partnership, that we formed with the city of San Ramon. You've got amazing staff. Your city manager is amazing. All your staff is amazing. And we really have accelerated this project from a vision to reality on the Bollinger Canyon pedestrian overcrossing. And so by utilizing an alternative delivery method called construction manager and general contractor, we were able to bring on the general contractor early in the process, thereby helping us to keep the project on time, but also to really work through issues to maintain and have better cost certainty through the entire project as we're developing and designing the project, which is now 100% design complete. And so now we're basically in the process of negotiating with the contractor into the next steps and to enter into what we call a construction services agreement with the contractor. If we're not able to enter in that agreement, then we would then put out the project to bid and we would seek an open bidding process for the project. But we're hoping that we can work closely with the contractor to reach an agreement. And so we're really proud of this project and really looking forward to working with the city of San Ramon on the next one. So really appreciate the opportunity. So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak tonight and answer any questions or comments that you might have, and really appreciate the support that this city council has given CCTA over the years, and look forward to the continued partnership.
Thank you. Questions to Tim before we go to public comment? Scott?
Yeah, wondered if you could comment on a future sales tax initiative. We failed the last couple of times, and I spoke to some of the electeds that were helping to craft it. And my comment to them was I could never see the compelling reason to pass it. There were some peripheral things. If you say Innovate 680, people glaze over. Okay. You put up that wiring diagram and people glaze over. And you have a great vision of that, and your staff does, and most of the people on that policy board and the other boards have an understanding, but that's not enough votes to pass a sales tax measure. So what are we going to do?
So it's a really good question, Councilmember Perkins. So right now we are literally kicking off the development of our countywide transportation plan. And so through that countywide transportation plan, We're really hoping to do, a lot of public outreach, really understand, similar to the work that we did with the travel behavior study, really understand, what are the needs, of the community? What are they actually looking for in terms of transportation and projects and programs? And then we would essentially put that together in terms of the countywide transportation plan. And then I can't speak for a future measure because that's a board decision.
Yes, I understand.
But through that countywide transportation plan, I would imagine that the CCTA board will discuss in terms of how to fund that plan in the future. And so in terms of when we may go out, it could be as early as 2024, 2026, 2028. But I think all of us realize that there's maybe a potential recession coming. And so depending on what the economic situations are and what the appetite for, another sales tax, because there is tax fatigue. So that's something that all of the things that the board will have to really consider and discuss as we kind of look to how we go out, whether that be a sales tax measure or maybe a completely different type of vehicle for a future measure.
The Measure J, of course, had Caldecott Tunnel. It had Highway 4 extension. It had things like the ferry terminal in Richmond. It had something of real value and concrete interest in each region of the county. And the Measure X, I didn't think had that. I don't remember what the numbers were. You probably do, but
52%.
Yeah, we need
total. Yeah, total.
Yeah.
52
So
not
that
here,
isn't
but I
enough.
think-
That isn't enough to get us there.
Yeah.
So
the real challenge is, and I kind of covered in the presentation, is that the projects are changing. Also, the funding is changing. It used to be that you're out there building highways and building roads and doing these large capital projects, and that's really no longer the case. And so a lot of the funding is really focused on, especially in the Infrastructure Investment Jobs Act, is really focused on electrification, zero emissions, technology, systems management, transit. So we really need to think about what are those signature projects are going to be in the future, and I think that's something that we're hoping to find out and identify through this countywide transportation plan process.
electrification can play big dividends, as can the hydrogen elements. But it's the chicken or the egg. If you don't have a hydrogen station, you aren't going to buy a hydrogen car, right, Joe? And
But the bus will be there.
Yes, but one of the curious things is if we were to have transition from gas vehicles to electric vehicles in 20 years, it's going to take 30% more electrical power generation in the country to do that. And we don't have the infrastructure to A, generate that amount of power, or B, distribute it. And it's not just the great big transmission lines, it's the interior city. If you had everybody on my block had an electric car and we all plugged them in at once, the circuit can't handle it. And so how do we get there from here? And I don't know there's an answer out there.
So in 2018, CCTA developed what's called an electric vehicle readiness blueprint for the entire county. And it basically outlined, we actually worked really closely with PG&E, MCE, and we worked really closely to determine what is the network, right? And what the demand is going to be on the actual grid. And so that plan actually provides exactly where electric vehicle charging stations would be planned and built throughout the entire county. And so we're slowly implementing that plan. I mean, we just recently got a grant from the California Energy Commission. That's about $2.5 million to install electric vehicle charging stations in Pittsburgh, Concord, and Richmond. And so we are looking for other grant opportunities in the Investment Infrastructure Jobs Act. We more commonly call it the bill. But in the bill, there's three competitive two formulaic programs and a competitive program. There's about $7.5 billion of funding coming down the pipeline for electric vehicle charging. And so we're closely monitoring that and positioning ourselves with DOE, Department of Energy, as well as FHWA, USDOT on those grant funds. But we do have a plan. And so it's just a matter of now implementing that plan. Believe it or not, Contra Costa County is actually in the top 10 in the state for electric vehicle adoption. And so we have to really keep up with that rate of adoption. So that way, when you do buy a car, you can plug it in and have the electric vehicle charging that you need. So.
Okay, Sridhar.
Thanks, team, for presentation. I'm really excited to hear about integrated transit plan. So as I have teens as well as elders within my household, so one of the biggest challenging groups who have a challenge to get the transportation, especially for commute purpose, whether they want to go to their school or their events, especially teens get into all this conversation about dropping, picking. That's one of the jobs that we end up doing it. So in this integrated plan, maybe you already explored, but is there, did you look at option of similar to Uber? Can we implement something within the CCTA so that, because what I see is a lot of these buses in our streets, when we see, most of them are occupied very little, like maybe 4 or 5 folks, especially in those in our San Ramon interior area regions. So is it make sense like switching those buses into Uber service, sort of, not Uber means Uber, but similar to that kind of service? By any chance, did we explore that option?
So the integrated transit plan, we were still preparing it. And so we're in the middle of preparing it. But the integrated transit plan, what it does is it does exactly kind of what you're saying. It says, okay, what are our high performing transit routes in Contra Costa County? And then, what are maybe some of our not high performing routes? And then basically what we're planning on doing is working with our transit operators, because this will take some route planning with our transit operators, which is some of the institutional barriers that we have to overcome. And so because of some of the requirements that transit operators have with FTA, Federal Transit Administration, they have to provide certain transit to certain locations all the time. Like, for example, paratransit service, they have to provide paratransit service. And so a lot of this service is required under FTA rules and regulations. So this is where regulation reform is really important as we're starting to think about how we're going to do innovation. But the integrated transit plan will look at, okay, these are the high performing routes, but then how do we supplant, or augment the existing routes with things like first and last mile, like shared autonomous vehicles, or on-demand systems like a TNC, like an Uber or Lyft. Tri-Delta Transit in East Contra Costa County, they have an on-demand shuttle that's extremely successful. And it's an on-demand cutoff bus about 24 feet long, and it basically picks you up right from your house from an on-demand perspective. And it does route optimization and picks up multiple people. So there's a lot of ways to innovate transit, but it's really thinking about how we can, meet all the rules and regulations of FTA so we can continue getting the funding from FTA. And so those are the things that, CCTA, and I know others like you and others, we go to DC quite often to really explain to them that these are some of the changes we need to the rules and regulations in order to innovate and optimize and get the best value in terms of our overall system. But the integrated transit plan does look at all of that in terms of how to supplant on-demand systems with fixed route systems.
Yeah, that will be significant improvement if we can get something like that, especially because a lot of seniors, when they want, we always advise them to visit our senior centers. But then the challenge that they have is transportation, accessibility. You talk to teens or you talk to seniors. This is all, the bottom line is accessibility.
Yep.
So that's where it starts and ends. Somebody need to drop them, pick them. If they don't have that facility, then that whole, whatever the facility that we are providing is becoming useless or not being used by majority. So do we have any timeline, what we are looking for this integrated transit plan?
Yeah, so the integrated transit plan will be completed by end of next year. And that goes hand in hand with some of the more, there's also a regional effort, what they call network management, that they're looking at how to better coordinate transit across the 9 Bay Area counties. And so we've essentially have kind of timed our study alongside that effort so that there's coordination both at the regional level and the local level. And so it'll be completed by sometime end of next year. So that's the estimated completion time. It's really hard to cover everything that we're doing in like a 15-minute presentation. And so, but one thing you mentioned, seniors, we are next year going to be deploying 2 shared autonomous vehicles in Rossmore. And we're going to be operating those shuttles in a full-time basis for 1 entire year to help those seniors in that community. And that'll be, as we continue to look for funding, we'll continue to expand our shared autonomous vehicle program. For example, at those 2 shuttles will be in Rossmore, will then come to Bishop Ranch, and they'll be operating in Bishop Ranch for about 6 to 9 months. And that'll be actual real service, like butts and seat service with shared autonomous vehicles. And so we just entered into a contract last week with a company called Beep, and they actually specialize in operating shared autonomous vehicles, about 13 deployments across the entire country. And so we are actually finally at the point where we're going to see real deployment of autonomous vehicles in our local jurisdictions.
That will be fantastic. And one more question is regarding communicating with you or contacting you. Like we do get questions about having a bus access or bus route access to certain residents that keep sending messages to us. So is there a way where we can connect directly to you with the community?
Absolutely. Yeah, so you can have my cell phone number. Call me anytime.
Perfect. You can have mine too.
So
okay, can we open up public comment or any other questions?
Questions?
I know we are talking about the future and the plan. Are there immediate low-hanging things that or the money available? Because I can think of a few here in San Ramon, which if we had the money now, we could.
Yeah, so some of the things that, I mean, there's lots of low-hanging fruit, actually. For example, I mentioned share mobility hubs. We just recently received a grant from the state to implement an I-680 express bus on 680 corridor that includes hydrogen fueling stations, both being installed in San Ramon as well as down in LAFTA, down in Dublin area. And then that'll also include a share mobility hub here in San Ramon at Bishop Branch. And then also some of the other low-hanging fruit. I mean, I can go on and on, but there's definitely like small local projects that we're doing, such as the pedestrian overcrossing, but also we're actually programming a bunch of federal money right now for a lot of smaller active transportation projects, safe route to school projects. And then we're continuing obviously with our programs in terms of traffics and other things. I think along in terms of Innovate 680, some of the first things that you're going to see there are going to be share mobility hubs, part-time transit lane, as well as this countywide signal system is something that we're hoping to start rolling out sometime end of next year. So we are having some low-hanging fruit items that will be delivered over the next couple of years, mainly through grants. For example, on the automated driving system grant we got from USDOT, we're actually developing a connected vehicle environment on the 680 in San Ramon and Danville with Nissan and Verizon, and that'll be all deployed next year as well.
There is a, future rail corridor that the county has on Doherty Road. And if that can be repurposed for some of the things you're doing, that I think, the seniors and the teenagers that want to get down to downtown San Ramon, that would be an opportunity.
I'm all ears.
All right.
Yeah, I'm all ears. Yeah.
A couple quick timing questions here. First of all, thank you, Tim. Very interesting. The first question on the pedestrian overcrossing, the community is pretty excited about that. 100% design. I understand there's utilities have already started to be kind of repositioned and things like that. What's sort of in the crystal ball at CCTA in terms of when you see actual construction starting on that we're going to see?
Good question. So if we're able to negotiate with the contractor, the construction services agreement, we're hoping to have that done by the end of the year. Then we have to go through submittals, making sure they get all the specs approved and all the drawings approved for the cabling and everything like that, the barrier, and then they'll be able to order all the materials. And so you'll actually see construction starting basically like a year from now. And it'll basically be a 2-year construction period.
Okay. All right. Thank you. The other question I had was, you had a slide up there and it showed, I don't know which slide it was, but how all the vehicles are communicating with one another and that sort of thing. I mean, that's pretty visionary. I think some of the public may be a little bit leery about that, and they might have a little bit of trust. I don't know if that includes turning over control of their vehicle or something like that, or just having some kind of a sensor in there so that communication is happening. What's sort of the vision or the timeline for that level of integration at the county level?
So that's a very good question. So I think we have to build trust with the community. I mean, that's first and foremost. And so the first thing about having a vehicle to everything kind of connected environment is for someone who drive a very smart car, that is connected. I mean, if you have a car today, most people think about autonomous vehicles, but like if you have a car today that has the automated cruise control, right? So it follows someone at a certain distance. That is a level 2 connected vehicle, right? So that type of vehicle is the vehicles that this system that we're developing will be able to communicate to. And so the first thing we would do is really think about how we can, one-way type communication by putting out what we call basic safety messages. So if you could imagine, a heads-up display or in your navigation or by your speedometer or whatever, you would get a message saying, lane closed ahead or, stop ahead, just sending out basic safety messages, is kind of the first step, just to like, wow, my car is actually awake, it's alive, right? And so then over time, we would then start thinking about how we can, communicate to the driver and basically say, hey, if these are some of the things that we're trying to figure out, more public outreach is needed, et cetera. But, it's how do we actually get a system in place where, we can actually stop a vehicle before it hits another vehicle. And so that's the type of system that we're actually testing right now with Nissan and Verizon. And so as part of that, and we'll be testing this type of system actually next year. The technology is available. It's just a matter of putting it out there and implementing it. But we're going to be doing a pilot demonstration, closed pilot demonstration, where you'll be able to stop a vehicle before it hits another vehicle in an intersection using video analytics and cellular communication in real time. You'll also be able to stop a vehicle before it hits a pedestrian or a bicyclist as it's turning a corner or something like that. And also we're developing potentially, I mean, there's obviously a distraction element to it, but some sort of an alert system to a pedestrian that there's a vehicle actually coming. So if someone's jaywalking or crossing when they're not supposed to, some sort of alert system that would be able to tell them to, get out of the way type of thing. And so that's the future that's coming with connected vehicles. And that's not even getting into the autonomous vehicle world as part of like what we call level 3 and level 4 autonomous vehicles. But that type of autonomous vehicle technology, other than potentially the shared autonomous vehicle that we're deploying, next year in Rossmore, but commercially available autonomous vehicles, are not going to be available for a while in terms of fully automated, right? For another 10 to 15 years, maybe.
Yeah. Now we had an autonomous vehicle program here, right? And you changed vendors or something, or what?
Yeah. So here we had the Easy Mile shuttle, and we found that the Easy Mile shuttle wasn't really maintaining the speeds that were promised to us by the vendor, and so we ended up moving on from Easy Mile. So it's a long story, but then we found Local Motors. So we were actually testing Local Motors at Momentum Station, and they actually went out of business in January. And so now we went out to RFP and selected this company called Beep, and then the authority board approved the contract last week. So we're actually going to be looking to using what's called the Navia shuttle, and that shuttle will be available at Bishop Ranch and at Rossmore in the next year or so.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, let's open up the public comments. Anybody wish to speak?
We do have one request to speak and one hand raised on Zoom.
Okay, let's hear from our speaker.
Mardi Gras.
Mr. Hale, you said that most people want to have public transportation. I would like to ask you, did you survey
Mardi
anyone?
Gras, you need to.
Or is
you
that
need
your
to address
assumption?
us.
Or is that your assumption? I want to tell you, I don't want to be in a public transportation. And you spoke of Biden administration. I just want you to know that Biden and Newsom, to me, they're communist dictators. Under their leadership, the taxpayers pay to death. However, there is no financial transparencies on the taxes that you guys got out of my paychecks. For example, my own city, when I had requested to have consent agenda pulled 5.2, 5.3, which is about our city finances, they didn't agree to let me vet why there were $2 million withdrew and $2 million deposited. This past Tuesday, or actually just this morning, the supervisors were talking about there is a particular health fund that we're not paying on time. There are a lot of corruption going on these days. I have no confidence in the Measure J that is under your project. I want transparency as a taxpayer, and I don't feel that there is. In addition, I'm concerned about safety. A lot of the electric cars are run by batteries, and they're extremely flammable. And once they are in flame, there's really no way of putting out unless you do probably the water reserve that is reserved for the entire 2 years for the entire city. In addition, you really have no right to dictate how we transport around. What Council Member Armstrong just mentioned about concerns that we can give up our freedom, our free will on how we travel, where we're traveling to you, because now everything is on sensors and you have control. Basically, if you don't like me, I can probably be murdered and then it'll just be a car accident.
Please address us.
I'm just turning that way. Please do not interrupt me. I only have 3 minutes. So under no government transparency, under dictator leadership like Biden and Newsom policies, and under the fact that we really don't have money, and if there is money, I would like to know how Councilmember Zafar knows. Maybe that's why you were not willing to pull the consent agenda, so the taxpayers and the residents can vet why you should have disclosed all those reports in a finance committee, but you guys are trying to sneak past it in consent agenda. So I'm sorry, if you have low hanging fruits, the residents would like to know. Thank you.
We have a raise your hand.
We have 2 requests on Zoom.
Okay,
The first is Suri Alapati.
Sari. Our Zoom's.
Namaste.
Oh, good.
Fine,
We can
sir.
hear you.
Yeah, I can hear.
Go ahead, please. Take 3 minutes, address us.
Yeah, so there are some seniors in Valley View Park, Monarch Park area, and Piccadilly Park area, and Danville area. There are seniors, they are not connected with any bus facility. We requested CCTA management. They said they are unable to provide anything now. If seniors they are required to go to hospitals, diagnosis centers, shopping centers, etc., and religious places also they want to go. If you are kind enough, CCTA can provide bus services to the remote areas wherever buses are not connected. Not regular trips, at least off and on 1 or 2 trips or county connection. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker. Mike, you have the floor.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Just 2 quick comments. One, I want to hope that the organization is getting in touch with the FAA and with NASA on the urban air mobility program. That's the future of air taxis and air delivery through drones is rapidly coming upon us. It's a project that I work on at NASA, and we're doing a lot of work on drone air traffic control for unmanned aerial aircraft. And so I hope that's an integral part of the planning process that's going on here. It should be if it isn't. Secondly, I understand the challenges with system integration and the importance that IT and data plays in making all of this work at some point. And I hope that the issue of IT security and cybersecurity is on the forefront, both in terms of executive support and funding. We're talking about operational technology or SCADA systems here. It's an incredibly attractive target. Vulnerabilities are manifesting every day, and it's a real challenge to keep up with it. I know that as not a federal agency, so you're not subject to the Federal Information Security Management Program that I live and breathe every day at NASA. In terms of IT security compliance requirements, as a regional agency, you wouldn't naturally be subject to that, but I would encourage you to consider the adoption of something as robust as the NIST risk management framework that we have to use at federal agencies to ensure adequate and appropriate and due diligence protections to the information. I understand you probably won't have a lot of confidentiality concerns, but given the nature of the operations of the systems, I would think issues of data integrity and system integrity would be first and foremost. So that's it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we'll close the public comment. I want to add a couple things. I'd waited till I got the questions out. Some of the questions that you were hearing really pertain to 3CTA, not CCTA. We do have a pilot program right now for seniors where we're working with the TNCs and we'll pay half the shuttle cost up to $5. And I keep asking, can we get it in English? Because we ran out of them real quick. But there is a pilot program, and how successful that is, we'll be able to expand. That's usually the way it happens. I was really intrigued by something Tim said of, hey, we had a company, we're going to a second company, and it went out of business. I swear this is the path that was taken for about 5 or 6 years as we, the Bay Area Air Quality Management District, tried to put together the e-bike program or the bicycle sharing program. And we couldn't keep them in business. 3 years later, you couldn't keep them away. It's like you're swatting away 5 or 6 or 7 different companies. And then you come back to San Francisco and see 2 or 3 more. I think we're just about at that point. And you're going to see a lot of e-bikes being shared, but you're going to see the bike sharing and these autonomous vehicles. I was in one in Florida last November that'll do 25 miles an hour. And they're really coming fast. Scott, you asked the best question, and I'm going to come back to it again. We didn't have something that could sell to people on the sales tax. Well, try this one on for size. Los Angeles County passed 2. Is it half cents or full cent sales tax with no sunset? And early on in Tim's presentation, you saw where we pick up $1.2 billion, we measured 3.1, we leverage, and we're going to lose that because all the projects have been set. I mean, we're just collecting money to pay the projects. It's where to get the next one. And we are so far ahead of people, it's scary. His predecessor, we used to laugh. We were called the little pea shooter because we had 20 people working at CCTA, and you have all these people applying for grants. They go back to Washington, D.C., and 8 people get grants. And 2 years in a row at CCTA for $8 million. And people are ticked. They go, wait a minute, why aren't we getting it? Because we're ahead of where things are going. If we succeed, people are going to copy what CCTA is doing on Innovate 680. I strongly suggest everybody, so you can tell me they're not doing it anymore, but every year they host the Mobility Summit over at Bishop Ranch. And I'm telling you, you should go to this thing. It's worth it. And you'll learn where we're going, not just where we've been. And they pull in people from, I remember I was hearing about the autonomous vehicle they were doing in Amsterdam. And it just so happens I was there with the Air District in Kobe, Japan. Amsterdam sent 23 people to this thing, and they're talking about their successful program or project. This is the kind of stuff we're looking at, and Bishop Ranch is on the front end of it. Alex Marin didn't come to him to get the autonomous vehicle or to the Air District to get a grant. He just got it. And fortunately for us, the person that was in the gotten it part of it is now working for us upstairs in Chris Weeks. When you got a question about transit, I mean, he's just going to call the chair of the County Connection or their general manager. And I'd say for the next 2 months, if you want any kind of an answer out of that, just call 925-570-0106 and they'll get you the answer. Or I'll try and find it, but we actually have the pamphlet there. We can find out, because you showed tonight, you know what is a need. Ruby Horta is probably the connection you should do at County Connection. She saw it, and that's why we changed that line coming out of East Dublin. The pilot program I'm telling you about is West Dublin. I think we're really going to hear more of what he didn't touch on is zero emission, the hydrogen, the VMT, and the electric stuff that Scott was alluding to is going to be a huge problem. I've been hearing it for 2 decades because my son's in the business that we don't have the infrastructure, but we're moving so fast. I am so happy that we're part of that Bollinger Canyon overpass, that you are the lead agent on it, because I know who does the contracting on over there, and it'll get done right, and we'll be very happy. Maybe not with the cost, but the value of what we're going to get. And to me, when we went to the 16 feet wide and the council backed it up, that's a huge difference. You'll get a kind of an idea of what I'm talking about. If you go out to Doherty Station and look at the bridge that's over to the, it's 24. I almost wish we were doing 24, but I don't want to see the cost. The other thing that he didn't even touch on is Gomentum Station. Initially, when 200 million was allotted for out of federal money for the test beds, there were only 8 or 10 of them that got it. And we got, you think, well, 200 million, you get, 10 of them, split it up 20 million. What do we get, 40? This operation is ahead of the rest of the country. At least it was until our council or our congressman started giving the money of the offsets to Michigan, but that's another story. The big problem is going to be what Scott alluded to, and that is we are now going to be fighting the 10 million person county in South County, LA County, who has more funds and is going to be raising them for years. And if that wasn't enough, I can still remember being at that convention down there after she passed the second half-cent sales tax, almost had a tear in her eye as she was begging the state and federal government to give her more money. I mean, we are, and still they got the grant. So, and he didn't even allude to the latest grant they've gotten, where Mark and Tim and others are working huge numbers to make Innovate 680. And it's being done because Innovate 680 is the direction. If we succeed, everybody will follow. High points. Anyone else before we let Tim go home? Nope. Did I miss anything, Tim? Thanks for coming out. Thank you. And I can't say it enough. I wish that we could make it so that the only thing I could come up with during the Measure X was, if we don't do this, folks, we're going to be fighting the 10 million person gorilla, but I don't know where it is.
I mean, you have to have actual projects, right? So you'll have to have like specific projects that you can mention in every community, something in the South County, something in the,
well,
like you said, very specific.
Why we didn't have it this time.
Yeah.
But, yeah. But that one to me is the bigger thing than all of them, Scott. When you got to go out and compete for money, the one that's got more money to begin with, kind of, like you want to go fight the Dodgers for Juan Soto, go ahead. That you're going to be in trouble. Anyway, nothing more. No last comments. Thank you very much, Tim. And go ahead. Oh, we are on to the highlight of the evening, the city manager's comments.
I think I spoke enough tonight, so I have no comments.
Okay, public comment is open. Anyone who's not spoken earlier, we have any cards? No, public comment is closed. We'll move on to city council members. Who wants to go first? To the left, to the right? Mark?
Sure. I don't have any meetings to report on. There's quite a few community activities I've been participating in, and it's been great to kind of get out there, and see people in public enjoying themselves. One of the events was a fundraiser, the Back to the School, Back to the Stars, the fundraiser for the one-room schoolhouse. And Sabina may want to talk about that too, but it was a great evening. Also, I attended another one of the summer concert series concerts. This was the Santana tribute band. Well attended. I mean, there was probably as many people at that concert as we saw on 4th of July. Also went down to San Leandro to the ACI recycling plant and took a tour of that facility. It was quite interesting down there. Got to participate in the test drive of the e-bikes and the e-scooters here at City Hall. That was a lot of fun, and I learned a lot. It was quite impressive. Also got over to Forest Home Farms. They had Bill Clarkson did a presentation for the San Ramon Historic Foundation on the Norris family. It was quite interesting. You know, one of our early pioneers for the city. And then finally, you know, many of us attended the San Ramon Cricket Association award ceremony last weekend. It's great to see the community out there, hand out some awards and trophies, and just had a good time. Broke a little bread with them, and just a good evening. That's it.
Sridhar, you get to follow that. Mr. Cricket.
I'll touch base on that. But first thing is on San Ramon Historic Foundation board meeting. I attended on Wednesday, July 20th. So unfortunately, they changed the timing on the board meeting. So I had to cut short for an hour. But during that meeting, they reviewed the financial review of the assets. It looks good as of now, and looks like they are going to make a decision on the organization that they are going to use, the investor planning they are going to use. So they're still working on that. So then that's the only item I could able to make it. But then the other ones is about the community. As Mark mentioned about San Ramon Cricket Association. Nice to see you all, except for Scott. Looks like Scott was busy, but anyway, we had an opportunity to meet our fellow cricketers. And
don't be modest. We gave you an award, Tiger.
Tigers. We received an award, and what else? Yeah, our summer concert series. Fantastic. Once again, it's beautiful to see our community coming there and dancing for the tunes. With that, I want to let you know that the next Sunday, we are going to have a Bollywood concert. Please make sure you bring all your Bollywood moves there so that we'll see you there.
That's okay, Scott. Top that.
So we had an Innovate 680 meeting, and they showed us in Houston, the Houston area, which is enormous.
Yes.
They have an operations center, and how they have 1,000 cameras, and they manage traffic signals and cameras, and they move people from, you know, they'll accelerate cameras over in one area to, or signals in one area to relieve congestion, and on-ramps and metering and things like that. Really impressive how big. It's called Houston TransStar. And it's not just the city of Houston, it's the Harris County, which is huge, the city of Houston, which is huge, Texas DOT, and their metro system. And they integrate both traffic and emergency response, which I found fascinating. They integrated emergency response because they get floods and hurricanes and all kinds of crap down there that we don't usually have to deal with. So it was really interesting in how they managed that. Library Advisory Committee, they've selected their next book for the Story Walk, which is turning out to be really popular. And so they select the book, they disassemble, they buy a couple of copies, they disassemble it, they laminate it, and of course they put it all around. It's really been a big hit, and the foundation's helping out with that as well. Let's see what else. Oh, and then the MCE Marin Clean Energy Board meeting. They are encouraging people that have electric cars. You guys do. don't have it, you really ought to get their electric charging app so that it helps you schedule when to charge your car so that, and you can get a rebate for participating so that you charge at a time that's off peak. But electric charging app from MCE can actually pay you. You get $10 a month by participating. $10 a month, $120 a year. Take your wife out, right, guys? Okay, let's see.
Subway.
$120 a year, you gotta do better than Subway, Dave. Batteries. It's, you go onto the MCE website and it'll probably lead you to it. If you can't find it, let me know. Battery storage, they installed a big battery storage thing at West Marin Medical Center, which is out on the coast down by Point Reyes, because they've been subject to a couple of PSPS events. And so they put a big battery storage in there. So they charge the battery during the middle of the day when there's lots of solar on the grid, and they discharge it in the evening. And it's really helping Marin Medical Center with PSPS events. We had a new contract, an energy storage project. It's 185 megawatts lithium ion batteries. It will come online in 2024. We're required by the CPUC and this California Energy Commission to provide some battery storage. And so this would be 185 megawatts for at least 5 hours a day. And it's in East County, and it's already got most of the environment, well, all the environmental approvals. They own the land. And so it has checked most of the boxes for being a ready, a shovel-ready project that they can actually get started on. And then we passed a pass and ticket policy so that members, if we go to an event like, David, you go to some of these conventions and things, that the members of the MCE board don't have to declare that as income or on their Form 700s because it's covered by MCE. So MCE is doing great, and they've actually got 3 earmarks that are moving forward in Washington, DC right now, working through a couple of different congressmen. Because we are in 4 counties, Marin, Solano, Napa, and Contra Costa, we can work with multiple congressmen on some of these earmarks and things. So doing some of the really good stuff.
Okay, Sabina.
So Scott, I think you were talking about the energy sources. Have you heard, did they talk about DERMS, which is the distributed energy? So the new systems that are coming online are called the distributed energy management resource systems. And part of it is like, they're being creative. Your buses can actually be charging stations as well. So they go and drive the bus, and then in the evening, you can actually plug in your car or something like that and charge that. So I think that alignment with DERMS and then what they're trying to do with the energy efficient cars and the whole ecosystem is quite interesting. What's happening there between PG&E and Tesla and all of these other guys. So that might be something of interest. It's like the Jetsons, right? That's our future. So if anybody wants to see what the future will look like, Innovate 680, we just put Jetsons there and see. People might buy into that. The Arts Foundation, again, the Arts Foundation does raise a lot of money through those concerts. So it's always fun volunteering. And they do look for volunteers. So if any of you are interested in volunteering at the Arts Foundation booth at the concerts, they're always welcome. We've been making some good money, and it tells us how the concert is doing by the amount of drinks we sell at the Arts Foundation booth. So you're right, the Carlos Santana one was quite popular. We got a lot of tips that day too. We also, like you mentioned, Night Under the Stars, which supports the one-room schoolhouse. So both myself and Councilmember Mark got an opportunity to attend that, which is always fun. We didn't quite see the stars because it started a little early and the stars hadn't come out by the time we left. Then we also have these picture frames all over San Ramon. It's called Picture This. So if you haven't seen them, it's part of Tri-Valley, what is it called? Not innovation. There's so many Tri-Valley things now going on that the Tri-Valley Visitors Bureau. So all the 5 cities in the Tri-Valley have these frames all over. And I think San Ramon has about 8 of them. There's one in Central Park, there's one in Bishop Bryant, there's one right outside City Hall. And you can kind of take a picture in that frame and then hashtag picture this San Ramon and picture this Tri-Valley. So that's something fun to, if you want to get a walk out of it and put something on social media. They're doing that. And then, yeah, we did test the bikes and the scooters, which are part of what I believe we are part of that mobility as a service test that San Ramon's going to be part of. I think we'll get it in front of council in the next few weeks, which is quite exciting. And then traffics which is also funded by Measure J, which is our, I want to say the right thing. It is a traffic mitigation congestion management program. We'll be having a bike festival in September, October. I'm trying to remember the date, but again, the idea is we used to have these bike rodeos in the schools themselves, where you could go and get your bike tuned and tested. And so we're now going to be making a community event where you can go in there and get your bikes checked out, and it'll be a rodeo and kind of a festival. So it'll be our first ever. It was supposed to happen before the pandemic, but then with the pandemic, kind of things, we weren't sure how things were going to roll out. And now it seems like a lot of people bought bikes as well. The whole mindset has changed. So we think it'll be a successful community event. So that should be coming up. And Chris will be happy that I'm holding the traffic spin. So I think that's it from my end.
Mine's even easier. I want to thank all you guys for going to all these meetings while I was flat on my back with COVID. But I did, one thing I'm seriously thinking about somehow being part of is at that Pleasanton Fair, I went to that auction. That's really kind of neat when they see these kids auction off these animals that they've been working on for years. Huge. And they're making money. And the price of bacon, I can see, is really going up. $8 a pound used to be high. I think it starts there now. We had one for 50. Yeah. Anyway, really interested. I wish I could have gone to the scooters, but I think everybody's glad that I didn't. The thing I remember is interviewing Nate Chauceron, that does one of these scooters, and to me, it was the perfect size. I thought it was going to be the standard. And I was talking about it, I think this was like 2018. He says, yeah, we've been around a long time, 2014. Like, what do companies last now by the months? And he was one of the first persons to work on the hydrogen bicycle. There is a hydrogen bicycle that'll go about 350 kilometers on a full tank of whatever it is. The other thing I want to bring to everybody's attention, if you get a chance, read the TVTC readout that Chris Weeks does. I mean, you guys are really on top of it. It's like there's a coordinated effort that everybody sees the vision and they're moving forward. And that's really what it's going to take. And because as fast as you move forward, somebody's trying to put a roadblock in front of you. And that's what Tim and Lindsay and that group are working on. And it's not as easy as you might think. Trying to put a new project together after Measure J, if there's no money coming in there, that nobody's going to even think about it. It's a waste of time.
I did forget to mention that our TVTC meeting, we approved the expenditure of $2.287 million towards the Iron Horse, the Bollinger Iron Horse Bridge project. So that's coming from TVTC money.
Yep. And I mean, Scott, you've been doing it. Have you ever seen the TVTC is closely knit? I mean, agreeing on stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we used to have some wars there.
Well, there was a change of philosophy out of Pleasanton, which was
where it needed to happen.
It had to happen or it wasn't going to work.
Anyway, that concludes my report. Anybody public comment on this?
We do have one request
Go ahead.
to speak.
Take a minute.
I have 3 minutes now.
Go ahead.
It is not innovating 680 to the taxpayers. It is actually.
That is the wrong topic.
No, but you mentioned that.
No,
You
Go ahead.
mentioned that.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
To the taxpayers, it is not innovate 680 to my ears. It is invade taxpayers through 680 to my ears. Why? You're invading my right of choice for transportation. And you are taxing me to death without transparency. I was very disappointed tonight that you guys are unwilling to let the taxpayer vet the financial reports that Mr. Sessions should have disclosed in Finance Committee meeting, which you guys canceled, and then you tried to sneak passage through consent agenda. Furthermore, if the taxpayers are out of money, no problem. Frivolously sue with other city, like what Mr. License is doing, our city attorney, getting on board with the city of Long Beach and sue Monsanto, the company that we really have no business suing. I'm not sure what you guys are doing and where you're getting your money from, but I really resent my right to transportation and my right to transparency of government being invaded and robbed by you guys. Hey, but fear not. If those things don't work, there are always freebies for lousy things you don't need nor want. Thank you.
Public comments closed. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Through the
all.
mayor, we had a finance committee meeting yesterday at 4 p.m.
and if you have questions about finance, Mr. Sessions is right there.
And Measure J is